welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be reviewing and doing a look of the new holiday palette from Dior. Now they launched two palettes. This one is the Golden Snow, the $5.49. So up here on the screen is the other palette that was available, and I didn't buy this palette only because I never wear those shades. Ever, ever, ever. Like, the colors are so intimidating for me to even attempt to do an eyeshadow look with it. And so I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna buy the one that's most appealing to me. You know, sometimes in this business, it's really hard to kind of pick and choose what you buy, you know, to review, but I decided that I would just pick up this palette only. I actually picked this up on the Selfridges website, and I paid $56 for it. These are not available on the Selfridges website right now, and I really haven't heard when these are gonna come out. I've looked around to try to find dates on when these will actually come to the United States, but I really don't have those dates. If you guys have those dates, will you guys please share that in the comment section down below? I have searched high and low to find out when these palettes will be available, and I just don't have any idea. Now, both of these palettes are limited edition, so this is actually my first holiday palette I've ever bought from Dior. And yes, I do have majority of the Backstage eye palettes, but this is the first palette that I have bought like this. Whether it's a holiday palette or the palettes that they keep in their regular permanent collection, I've never bought them. So this is my first experience, and I have a lot to say about this palette. So let's go ahead and jump into the eyeshadow look that I created using this palette. Then we will get into some swatches, and then I will jump into my final thoughts. So I will see you guys then. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into this new Golden Lights palette from Dior. And I've kind of dunked my finger into them. When I swatch a palette like this, if you want to get the intensity, it's probably, this type of formula is probably best applied with a finger, wet, like dampened, or using the little felt tip applicators that come with them. You guys know I've been a fan of felt tip applicators for a while. They do really give you a beautiful application and a little bit more precise than a finger. The shade that draws me in is this shade. It's so pretty, and I always love like a really pretty peachy pink color. I'm just gonna go in first with a brush, not dampened, just dry, so you can see what it looks like. So I'm gonna bring that right here. So that just gives you kind of like a wash of color, but I want to build it up. So I'm going to go back into the shade. So now I'm just going to dampen it with some spray. And let's put it on this side. So you can see that dampening it just gives you a little bit more impact. So now let's go in with the sponge applicator, and I'm going to go right here. Okay, now you can see the difference. So just for those of you that want to know the level of intensity, based on, you know, my experience with a formula like this, applying them with the applicator that comes with the palette is definitely going to be the best bet to get that beautiful shimmer. So it's just depending on your preference and what you like. I've always felt that a sponge tip applicator is very handy. So I'm going to bring that shade up and into the crease. It is very beautiful. It does have a gorgeous shine, and it is a beautiful color. I want to go into this gold shade right here in the middle. So I want to bring that like right here on the center of the lid. Ooh, that shade, you guys, is gorgeous. I mean, that's so pretty. I want to show you guys what it looks like over here alone, because there's a spot right here that I don't have that other shade down. You can see just how pretty it is. That is a really beautiful shade. Woo! I'm going to go into the dark brown shade right here, and I'm going to take the other side of the sponge tip applicator. I'm going to kind of carve out this outer corner. Ooh, look at that pigment with the sponge tip. You can really get some precise precision. It looks kind of chocolatey brown in the pan, but when you apply it with a sponge tip, it almost kind of looks black. So that's something to be noted. I'm just gonna blend these edges with a clean brush. And it blends right out, as you can see. It blended right out. I'm gonna dip into that shade with my brush. I'm just gonna use my mini booster from Sonia G. And I'm just gonna slowly just kind of smoke that into this outer corner. I don't wanna bring it out too far and I don't wanna bring it in. So I'm just keeping it right out here. Okay, so that shade does have like a gray black base to it. It doesn't, for me, doesn't feel like a chocolate brown. I mean, it's blending beautifully. I'm not having any issues with it. And I will say, even though I am building it with a brush, I am getting pretty decent pigment here on this outer corner. So, even though I felt like the sponge tip applicators applies the other shades better, I like how when you apply it with a brush, it will diffuse it a little bit easier so that it's just not so much pigment and you have time to kind of work and build and pack and work and then blend it and, you know, try to get a nice even blend. So I'm going to grab that top shade and I'm going to place it right up here on my brow bone. Okay, so I went ahead and threw on some concealer. I'm going to go into the dark brown right here. I'm going to grab a small smudge brush and I am going to go into that shade and just deepen up this outer corner right here. So I'm going to grab this dark shade. The thing that I will say is that I do appreciate how this formula builds, and it builds in a very, very soft way. I'm going to grab this light shade right here, and I'm going to put that on the inner corner. These do have a very soft glitter shimmer formula. So, I mean, they're very, very shimmery, but yet super, super soft. Okay, so I went ahead and finished the rest of my makeup, and this is the final look on the eyeshadow, and I have a lot to say about this, so I'm gonna save all of that for my final thoughts, but I just wanted to pop on here and show you guys, you know, how the eyeshadow look turned out once I got my mascara and the lashes on and stuff like that. And that's it for the tutorial portion of the video. Let's go ahead and jump into the swatches, and then I will get into my final thoughts. Let me go through my final thoughts. When I was going through my palettes and kind of swatching, it was really hard to find a palette that had these type of textures. Yes, I did swatch it next to the Natasha Denona Glam palette, and yes, there was some similar shades, but the Dior palette is very sparkly. The formula is pretty much identical to this like Glitz palette or any of their Backstage Face palettes. It's a very finely milled glitter formula that really shines and sparkles on the lid, but in a very soft way. So it does look really beautiful over like wrinkles and, you know, maybe wrinkling eyelids. Like I've had this eyeshadow look on for hours. I think I finished my makeup right around like noontime, and it still looks really pretty in the crease. It really hasn't creased or anything like that. So it is a really great formula. And I get similar looks when I use my Glitz palette or even, you know, the Universal palette. And, you know, I could even use the last 3 that I just got to review on my channel. Their Backstage face palettes is very similar to the formula that's in these shadows. They look very, very similar, and that's the reason why I uploaded the image of this palette next to the Glitz palette, so you guys could see the textures and the way that they shine. Is the pinks and the grays together. I love pinks and grays. I think it's just such a beautiful color story. I could get this exact same look that I'm wearing if I used the Glitz palette, like these textured shades up here, and if I grabbed like this shade or even this shade and blended it out. So I was just kind of looking for something different. Now, don't get me wrong, this palette from Dior does have the olive green, which does look to be a very beautiful olive green shade. I'm just very disappointed in this shade. Extremely disappointed. It looks brown in the image and it's not brown. So it kind of threw me off a little bit because I wasn't expecting it to turn into a pink and gray look. I was expecting it to be kind of just a peachy, golden, brown, like warm tone look. So it kind of threw me off a little bit. I think this palette has beautiful textures. I think they blend beautifully on the eye. I think the textures are really pretty because I like how you can have a different level of dimension of intensity when it comes to some of those really sparkly shades. You can do it very light and very even, or you can really build up the intensity depending on what application you use. So I do like the versatility within that particular formula. It's not anything different that I already have, and I'm just kind of on the fence about whether I fully love it. Do you know what I mean? So on my personal basis, based on what I have in my collection, this is probably not going to be something that I reach for. It didn't like overwhelm me, which was what I was looking for. If we take all of that away and we remove all of, you know, my collection and what I was wanting it to be and what it wasn't, if I take all of that out of it, it is a very beautiful quality palette. It does have a great quality to it. But I think you just have to decide if, you know, what you're buying this palette for and if it fits that need. For me personally, it didn't fit the need that I was wanting from it. Because I don't like the brown tone, the olive green is a very particular shade. I mean, it is a gorgeous, gorgeous olive green. It is. It's really pretty. It's really pretty. I do have this from other palettes, maybe not this exact finish. I do have it from last year's Charlotte Tilbury palette. This is the, what is this called? The Starry Eyes to Hypnotize. This olive green is what this olive green reminds me of. So that's the one from Charlotte Tilbury. This is the one from Dior. Now let me swatch the one that's right next to it in the Dream Glow, because there's 2 greens in this palette. This is a lighter olive tone, which is really pretty. I do think it has a really pretty tone to it. So, you know, but just for me on a personal level, I don't know. I'm trying to decide if I fully love it. I don't know. I do, but I don't. I'm on the fence about if I'll use this palette. That's where I'm at. I kind of feel like maybe I'll use it, but then I'm like, no, I don't know that I'm going to use it all that much, because these 3 shades on the top was really what caught my eye. I can basically get that from the Glitz palette, from at least these 2 shades in particular. So, you know, I was just kind of, I don't know, I was looking for something just a little bit more from it, and I really didn't get that from it. But overall, I'm just kind of a little bit underwhelmed, I think, is my point. Take that with what you will and decide if this is something that you really need in your collection. So those are my final thoughts on this palette. Sound off down below. Did you guys pick up this palette? Are you loving this palette? Are you not liking the palette? Let us know in the comments down below. Like I've always said, your guys' opinion and sharing is just as important and as any other creator coming on camera and talking about it. So thank you so much for always engaging and sharing your experiences. I love you all so, so much. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Love you. Bye.